So I'm getting ready to fry some duck, and get it ready to fry. I'm cutting it in like French fry strips. Now this is smaller duck. This is a duck known as a teal. This is a green winged teal. And the breasts are at least, a mallard duck breast is at least twice as big. And you can actually take a mallard duck and cut it at an angle across the grain, and it will make it a little more tender. But these are smaller breasts, and they'll be fine. You can actually take and beat it with a tenderizer hammer. But I'm just going to cut these in half for now, and we're going to soak them up in some milk to tenderize them, help tenderize them a little bit. You don't have to, but you can. We're just going, buttermilk's probably the best. I think we're just going to use some sweet milk. This is a very simple way to cook duck. We're going to go ahead and put a little seasoning. This is just a complete seasoning. We're going to go ahead and put some on it before we soak it, and then we'll mix some with our flour also.
Can you show them that seasoning?
This is just a complete.
It's got garlic and I'm sure all the...
It's got all kind of stuff in it.
We'll look and see what all's in it here in a minute.
And we're just going to put half a cup of milk in here. Let it soak for a little while before we get ready to fry it up. So this seasoning here, we use it quite a bit off and on. It's good for fish and poultry and different meats, salads, sauces, and vegetables. And the ingredients is dehydrated vegetables, which, you know, like your garlic and your onion, your spices and herbs like your rosemary and thyme, things like that. But you could use just salt and black pepper would be fine. It tastes just really good. So we're going to do something a little different tonight with it though.
So to go along with Danny's his duck meat, we're going to be making some biscuits. And this just isn't any biscuits, this is angel biscuits. I used to make these a long time ago. I can remember far back as when the kids were home back on the farm. I loved making angel biscuits. They are between a biscuit and a hot roll, and they're just light and fluffy, and they're just really good. I just usually make just regular old biscuits, but tonight we're going to be making angel biscuits. And they say, well, why are they called angel biscuits? And some people say, well, they're so light and fluffy that they just float in heaven, so they call them angel biscuits. But all you got to do is I've got 2.5 cups of just all-purpose flour. First thing I want to do is I've got 2 tablespoons of warm water, and I've got 2 1/4 teaspoons, which is 1 package of active dry yeast. And I'm just going to put it in my 2 tablespoons of warm water, and I'm just going to give it a little stir. Just let that yeast activate. And I got 3 tablespoons of sugar right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of that sugar in with that yeast. And what that does, it just helps it along. It feeds it a little bit and just helps it poof up a little bit there. So I've got my 2.5 cups all-purpose flour. I'm going to put my 3 tablespoons of sugar in here. Or you can use a sugar substitute if you want to. And we need 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And see, this is what I'm saying. It's got baking powder, salt, and it also has yeast in it. If you never made these before, and it's kind of confusing, but I'm telling you, they make a really good biscuit. And this is something that you can serve at breakfast or with supper. It's like I said, it's between a biscuit and a roll, and they're just really good. So 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. If you're not sure about angel biscuits, just look it up. It'll explain it to you, you know, the difference and just the recipe and how it originated, and it's just really good. So I need 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And I need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to take my hands and I'm just going to mix this up a little bit, the dry ingredients. This is our best tools that the good Lord give us, was our fingers and our hands, to use as this kind of instruments to help you along with everyday task. Okay, so we got our, let's see, we got our flour, our sugar, our baking powder, our soda, salt, and we need 1/2 cup of shortening or lard, whichever you prefer to use. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to work. You can cut it in. You can cut in with a fork, or if you've got a pastry cutter, but I just like to use my hands and just cut that shortening or lard into your flour. You need to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. So we're going to have some good old fried duck meat and some angel biscuits and make some gravy. And we'll figure out what kind of vegetables we might want tonight. I'm a big vegetable eater. I like to eat vegetables. And I pretty much like all kinds of vegetables. So just work all that in till you get like pea-size looking, kind of like sandy soil in there. What I like to do is I like to pick it up and I like to rub it between my fingers, because that'll get it incorporated. That'll get that shortening or lard incorporated into that flour really good. I haven't made these in so long. Okay, I think that's incorporated pretty good. So you need 1 cup of buttermilk, or you can just use regular milk, whichever. It doesn't matter. They're still going to turn out whether it's buttermilk or regular milk. So all you're going to do now is stir. We're going to stir in our yeast mixture and enough milk or buttermilk that your dough is going to kind of leave the side of your bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my yeast in here. Whoops. Well, I forgot my little plastic spatula. Let me grab it real quick. Okay, well, I got my wooden spoon anyways. So we're going to get our yeast out. And then just pour, I'm not going to pour it all in there at once. We're just going to pour a little bit. And then I'm just going to start gathering my dough up. Now, the secret to a good angel biscuit is they say not to roll your dough out like you would a regular biscuit with a rolling pin. I'm going to put just a little bit more. You can do this with a mixer too. It makes it go a lot faster. But you just want enough milk that it's going to gather up away from your bowl. It shouldn't take very long. I think the difference between an angel biscuit and just your regular baking powder biscuit is it does make a fluffier, lighter biscuit. These are really good with a big pot of stew, soup, or a big pot of gravy. So I've got it gathered up, and I didn't use all my milk. I'll use that to put in my gravy. I've got my pan up, my skillet over here to put my biscuits on. And I'm going to gather my dough up. First, I'm going to put me just a little bit of flour. You don't want a whole lot of flour. You don't want too much flour, because what that's going to do is it's going to make your biscuits tough and dense. But I am going to put just enough to knead my dough. And you want to knead it about 25 times. Okay, so I'm not going to roll it out. I'm just going to pat it out. And I do regular biscuits this way too. If I just don't feel like dirtying up a bunch of stuff and dirtying up a rolling pin, I'll just pat it out. Make sure my biscuits don't stick to the board. And you want to pat it out about a ½ inch thick. And I'm just going to do it with the palm of my hand. Now I have greased my skillet over here, and a lot of times when I'm making biscuits and I got a lot of time, and I will heat this up just like you would if you're making cornbread. I would heat this up just a little bit, bring it out, and then cut my biscuits and put them on there, but I'm not going to do that today. Okay, now whatever size biscuit you want, it doesn't matter. I even have this old thing that I got at an antique store. You can do it this little. And I have made them this little. And they're so cute because they're really good for, say, like Christmas breakfast, to have them this size. And put little pieces of ham and stuff between them and just serve them like that. It's really neat. So we're just going to place biscuits. I'm going to turn them over, get a little grease on top. I was looking because I couldn't remember if I used to let these just sit a while before I put them in the oven. And it doesn't say to, but I couldn't remember. For some reason, I didn't think that you were supposed to. I just thought maybe with it having yeast in it, I couldn't remember if you're supposed to let them sit a little bit, but no. Once you get them rolled out, you just go ahead and put them in the oven. Or once you get them cut out. Me and Mr. Brown can't eat all these biscuits at once, but biscuits don't go bad. They're good the next day. You can heat them up and eat them with breakfast. A lot of times if I've just got 1 or 2 left over, I always keep a bag in the freezer, so I'll have leftover biscuits when I'm making my chicken and dressing. My dressing, I always use leftover biscuits in it. I'll crumble my biscuits up. So I'm going to get about 9 biscuits out of this. Okay. I'm gonna let Mr. Brown finish cooking. Well, get pretty close to getting all the duck fried up, and then I'll put these in the oven. That way everything will get done about the same time. You know, sometimes people struggle with that, trying to get everything done at the same time. Over the years, I kind of accomplished that. It's called multitasking, where you can do 4 or 5 things and just get it all done at once. And women are pretty good at that.
Paul's in the kitchen cooking up some duck. I got some self-rising flour here, which self-rising flour has a little salt. But I'm going to put about a half a tablespoon in there in my flour, and I'm going to put pepper, and I like pepper. I'm going to put a lot of pepper. Guess I should have got a regular pepper deal, huh? And then I'm going to go ahead and put some of this seasoning that we talked about. I'm going to put some of this seasoning in here. Put quite a bit. I like seasoning that wild game. I'm going to stir this up just a little bit. And I'm going to put just a little more seasoning. A little more pepper. Now this is simple. This is basically the same way that I cook venison, backstrap on venison. It's a very easy way to do duck. Now you can let this duck soak overnight in milk or buttermilk and tenderize it up a little bit. It gives you something a little of your flour to stick to. And all I'm going to do is take these little fingerling French fry cut breast and drop them in the flour. And I'm going to take my other hand here and mix them in there good. I like to really put the flour to them. My grease is getting hot. I'm going to drop a little flour in there and see. Yeah, she's a sizzling. She's getting hot. You don't want it to be too hot, but yet you want it to be hot enough to brown your flour. You don't want to cook this duck too long, because it tends to, which I like it, but some people don't. It tends to get a little, I don't know if you call it a gamier taste or not, but it gets a milder taste. The longer you cook it, it gets a little stronger taste of meat to it.
So the longer you cook it, the more wild taste you get?
Well, I wouldn't say wild, but to me it's it has a little hint of, and I probably scare people, it has a little hint of chicken, fried chicken liver taste. Just a hint, not stout. It's not chicken liver.
No.
When you cook it a little longer, it's just a little stronger taste of meat than it does like when the video that I done that we cook it like a steak. So,
well, you know that I'm not a big liver eater, but I do love duck. So
Yeah, it's not really. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to taste like liver, because it's not at all. Not even close.
no.
It just has, this duck meat has an enzyme in it, and I can't tell you what it's called. It's got that when you overcook duck, it gets stouter. And of course, it's going to get tougher. When I fry it like a steak, I cook it about 128 degrees, take it off, and it's kind of a medium rare or just pink, and it gets up to about 130 degrees. So on this duck, I'm just going to let the flour brown on each side, and it's probably going to be a little pink inside, but that's the way we like it.
Now, we've also read that duck meat is more, the texture is more like beef than it is chicken.
Yes, or it'd be more like kind of like a deer meat too.
Yeah.
Venison.
So don't think when you're going to eat duck that it's going to taste like chicken or be
It's not
like,
gonna taste like
not
chicken.
even the texture.
Now this is wild duck. Now a domestic duck, a Pekin duck might taste different. I don't know that I've ever eaten a Pekin duck, a tame duck like that. But I've eaten lots and lots of wild duck, and I absolutely, it's very good. And this is green wing teal that is probably next to wood duck one of the best eating ducks there is. I like it better than I do mallard, but I love mallard. So
a lot of people, of course, you breast your ducks out. A lot of people love duck fat, but there's probably not a lot of fat on these wild ducks. So, but
well, there's not. There is I killed a Godwell today. I mean a Gladwall today.
a Gladwall.
Now you got me where I can't even say it. A Gadwall.
Okay, a Gadwall.
A Gadwall. And when I cleaned it, I breasted it out, and it had a thick layer of fat. They all have fat. If you want to pick all the feathers off and save that fat, you can do that.
Well, they say it's some of the best tasting stuff to roast potatoes and vegetables in. We may have to do that sometime.
So you see, I don't know exactly how wild duck fat would be. I know the Pekin duck fat's supposed to be wonderful.
Yeah.
So we just let it brown, and we're going to flip it over. And we're going to make sure it don't get too hot here.
I'm going to get my biscuits in the oven.
Boy, it's smelling good. You know what would be good if I chopped up a little onion thrown in there?
Yeah.
But I didn't do it, did I?
Okay, our biscuits are done. It's about, at 400, it took between 10 and 12 minutes. You see how good and golden brown they are. And I haven't even put any butter on top of them yet. But they turned out so pretty. And when you pick them up, you can feel they're just really light. They are a light biscuit. They're not a real dense, heavy biscuit. So I can't wait to put me some gravy on that.
So I've got my duck cooked up, and I've drained my grease out of my pan, the most part of it, and it's got quite a bit of flour in it, and if the flour is already brown quite a bit, it's going to have all them giblets in it too. So I'm going to go ahead and add just enough flour and stir it around and see what it looks like. Going to make that brown gravy, that sawmill, look gravy. I do all this by look. You still want your liquid in here to be a little bit wet. You don't want it to be clumping up. You see how that starts to clump right there? That's about right there. And that gravy, that flour's getting a good scald on it, getting brown. And we're not going to add no salt and pepper. We'll do that afterwards to taste, because this is going to have different flavor and seasoning in it. So we'll we'll just let it go at that. I like to let that flour start boiling like that right there. Start air boiling, bubbling up like that. You don't want to get it too hot, but you want it plenty hot.
You're making a roux.
Yeah, it's making a roux. I'm fixing to put milk in it.
I like it that way. The darker, the better for me. I mean,
and if you let it brown, I think it makes your gravy come together a little faster too.
Yeah, and it just gives it a real deep, richer flavor. Now, I think that was about 1.5 cups of milk. You may not need all of it. You
can always add a little milk. If your gravy gets to getting thick, too thick to suit you, right there at the last, you can add a little milk.
And sometimes when I'm making gravy, if I've used all my milk and I still need a little bit more liquid, I'll just add some tap water to it.
Yeah, that's how you make sawmill gravy.
Yeah,
water gravy.
Water gravy.
And you know that's a pretty good gravy. You know, we've made it. And
it is.
I grew up eating it off and on, and we usually had milk gravy, but when times got hard, you can always use water and make gravy.
We usually don't eat this late. It's a little bit after 6 o'clock. You can see outside the front door. We've got lights all around the porch. At the end of the video, I'm going to show y'all what little bit of lights we've got outside, and just...
It's raining.
Yeah, it's raining, and
got dark early.
I'm going to show you a little bit more of some of my Christmas decor, because it ain't going to be long. It's all going to come down.
Christmas fixing to be here.
It's here. It's upon us. My microwave's beeping because, you know, that rice I made.
Yeah.
That golden buttery.
You're gonna eat some of
caramel. I'm gonna eat some of that rice with this, and it's gonna be good.
Yeah, you're more of a rice eater than I am.
And then I got us some carrots and peas. That's some of Mr. Brown's favorite vegetables, with a little bit of butter and salt and pepper.
And we can see what that duck looks like. Got it keeping warm.
Yum.
Cook that duck about 3 minutes aside, maybe 4 minutes. It just a medium would probably about between 3 and 4 minutes, depending on how much on each side. But I usually flip it, and when a little red, if it has a little red, if it's a thicker piece of duck and it has some red coming back up through it, then a lot of times I flip them back over just for a few seconds, maybe 10 seconds before I take them out. But I think my gravy's going to get thick, Mom.
Yeah. I'm ready. I think everything's pretty much ready.
I don't know how it gets any better than this.
Looking pretty good. I'm ready to sit down and eat. How about y'all?
Fried duck, biscuits, gravy, and veggies.
Delicious. Well, I tell you what.
It's going to be good.
My stomach is so empty. So it's so ready. So let's sit down. We're going to sit down and eat, y'all.
So if you haven't tried duck fried, you might really like it. I mean, it's one of my favorite ways to eat it. Yeah.
Mine too.
So I'm thinking about making some duck fajitas. So if you think you might be interested in knowing how to make some duck fajitas, then we'll give that a try one of these days.
Yeah. Just comment below if you want us to do some more duck recipes. And like Mr. Brown said, you can do this with deer meat. We have some pheasant when Mr. Brown went pheasant hunting, so we got all kinds of wild meat in the freezer. So yeah, if y'all would like to see us make some duck fajitas, I'll even go as far as making some homemade tortillas to go with it. So just comment below and let us know. So we're going to sit down, we're going to eat some supper, and we'll be back with you in just a little bit. So it is a very, very cold day today. It was 15 this morning. Usually, I mean, we have cold weather here in Arkansas, but usually it doesn't get this cold this quick during the day. But I think it's supposed to be warming up just a tad by Sunday. But what we're going to be doing today is we're planting onions. And I know some of y'all are probably thinking, well, Miss Lori, that's too early or that's too late. No, it's just right. We get our onion plants are sent to us from Haas. This is Haas Tools, and they have wonderful onion plants, any kind of seeds. During the spring, you can get all kinds of your garden needs from them. What we do, this is a Texas Super Sweet, and it's a pretty good size onion, and I really like the taste of these. But, and I think I know I've got over 100 plants here. I may have to give some of them to somebody. I may not have room for all of them, but I do have one row ready right through here. And then Mr. Brown went to try to find me some cottonseed meal, because I'll be sprinkling cottonseed meal in there before I plant these. And what they'll do is they will try to root, of course, and then once they even get some roots established, they're going to go dormant, just like my garlic, during the winter. We'll cover them up with straw and leaf mulch, and then this spring they'll start sprouting up and start to get with it and grow. So we'll have some beautiful onions and garlic. Now when I got these onion plants, they were moist. They make sure they send them in a way that they don't dry out and go bad on you before you get them. But I've had them in the house a few days, and you see how the roots are getting kind of dry. So I've got probably just a quarter of water in the bottom of this bucket, and I'm just going to stick these down and just let them roots soak some water up before I plant them. You can't leave your onion plants sitting in water too long, because they'll start to rot. But I do want just enough to water that root before we plant them. Because of ground freeze, we'll be planting our onion plants probably 3 to 4 inches deep is what you should plant them, and then about 6 inches apart. And then we'll cover them really good with leaf mulch, and they'll kind of go dormant this winter, and then about spring they'll come back to life and hopefully start growing, and by May we should have some pretty good sized onions. The cottonseed meal is very good, beneficial for your soil. It has a lot of good benefits. So before we end this video, there's so many of y'all that have commented and just really love to look at my decor here in my cabin, my primitive cabin. So much of my decor is primitive. It did come from secondhand stores, vintage stores, antique stores, and things that people have even given me as gifts, or just given to me because they know how much I love primitive decor. My bedroom was a screened-in back porch. We closed it in. We had our Mennonite friends come in, and they closed it in for me. We don't have any use for a big bedroom, but I love this bedroom. This wall right here was the main wall. That's why it's just still its original pine wood. And of course, they done the shiplap on this side, and they couldn't understand why I wanted to distress it and make it look old. But they couldn't wrap that around their head. But anyways, it looks good. I'm happy with it. So my little bedroom here, I have decorated up with just a few little Christmas things. So I thought I'd just bring you and show you just a little bit of how I like to. I don't have kids here at the house anymore. I remember used to when my kids were growing up. I loved Christmas and to decorate the house for the children. So even though they're all gone and got their own homes, I still like to decorate, and I even like to bring it into my other rooms, even my bedroom, and maybe even just a few other places. So I'm just going to give you a little tour of my Christmas bedroom. I hope y'all enjoy it. I want to say one thing. I got a new bedspread. It's just a lightweight bedspread that I had got just for the winter months. Starting, I would put it on my bed at Christmas time, and probably going to leave it through probably about the end of January into February, because I think it'll be good. Now under this lightweight bedspread is a down comforter, which is what keeps us cozy and warm. But this is just a lightweight bedspread with just a lightweight shams to go with it. But I love the fact that it wasn't exactly red. It's more of a burgundy, pretty wine color. And that it has the snowy branches just going up the middle and down the sides. It's not cartoony or gingerbread or Santa Claus. To me, it's just right for a vintage bedroom when you want to dress it up a little bit for Christmas. And of course, a little bit of Christmas even in my little laundry room. I've got my fragrance wax melt sitting on the dryer, just making the laundry room smell like sugar plums, just like Christmas. And we even have Santa hiding out in the bathroom in his own little outhouse. Looking over and making his naughty and nice list on a roll of toilet paper. So are you on the naughty or nice list? I bet you're on the nice list. So we'll see y'all in a couple of days. Hope y'all have a beautiful weekend. And we'll see y'all before Christmas Day. We love y'all. God bless.